Is the Breakaway. To those watching on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, welcome along. Giulio Ciccone stays in yellow for another day. The Italian keeping the biggest prize in cycling on his debut Tour de France. But the stage win went to someone slightly more used to it, Dylan Groenewegen, with stage 7 on the longest stage of this year's Tour de France, the 330-kilometre slog, coming down to a sprint in the end. Well, I'm delighted to say that myself and Adam Blythe are joined by Nico Roche, fresh from the longest stage of the Tour. Nico, I'm sure this is exactly what you want to be doing, standing in the sunshine, talking to friends. We see what the sprint is like at the front. We see the chaos. We see the speed. What is it like? You come in some 1.5 minutes down, we think, in a quick calculation. What's it like for you coming in at that pace?
Well, today I was on my own, actually, with Roland-Garros, so it was quite relaxed, chilled and friendly.
This is all relative, Nico.
It's all relative, yeah, but most other days, coming into the sprint, it is just chaotic. I think the worst place to be in the peloton is around that 40th, 50th position. So you have all the kind of leaders train and the GC guys are trying to stay in position without taking any gaps. And then you have all the ones that are caught in the middle trying to move up, and those drifting back, and definitely in that kind of 30th to 50th position, it is just chaotic. You just have guys, like I said, swimming back, trying other guys who are caught behind in position or trying to not to lose time, so they're kind of sprinting up, and it's just guys swinging off left and right, and that's chaotic. Then after that, you're a lot more quiet. The bunch is usually a little bit more strung out, and guys who are maybe not as interested to actually finish in the bunch, and they don't care about losing an extra 5 or 6 seconds, but to finish safe and sound. And then obviously in the sprint, well, you, like you said, you see it on TV, it's absolutely mayhem.
Adam, you had a question for Nico about the crosswinds, didn't you?
Yeah, I think more today. When you look on TV, we see what's happening at the front of the race. We can't really see the wind as such. We can't really tell the stress in the peloton. But obviously, with the riders, with the DSs in the rear, as you said a minute ago, you get the DS in, you've got a small town coming up, then you get the big rush from the peloton just for a small town. And after the intermediate sprint today, it looked like the peloton was going to split. There's a few riders moving towards the front. Was there any chaos going to happen today, really, or was it just all sort of speculation and be at the front just in case?
I think it was a bit of speculation. It's kind of funny because, you know, usually after the bonus sprints, it kind of backs off a little bit, and then suddenly the speed just went up again. I was like, is there something I don't know?
Well, that's when Dan Martin lost the wheel. So Dan Martin, after that, was like 40 seconds down after that sprint. Yeah, Quintana stopped to get to the toilet, and they were off the back. So luckily, Movistar had to all come back and chase on. So I was like, nah, it's done. If there's crosswinds, they are not getting back on. But luckily, he slowed up.
Yeah, it seems, you know, there's been this kind of annoying wind from the right all day long. And, you know, the road was kind of undulating, and then sometimes we were going off to the, you know, like over a crest, and you felt the wind a little bit stronger. And there was always this risk of, you know, the wind was actually annoying but not dangerous. I think, you know, someone probably got a bit excited in the car and said, oh, we're going left, the wind's coming from the right, so we're going to have a 3/4 tailwind. Yeah. But might have, but for 500 meters, because next thing we're back in the forest again with a headwind.
And as Luke said today, I spoke to Emilio, I just asked you, it wasn't an easy day, was it? I mean, when you look at it on TV, we were saying, oh, okay, it can be a long day, it's easy for the riders, it's quite boring, which I'm sure it is for you guys, but it wasn't that easy, was it?
No, definitely not. Wasn't easy. You know, waiting to come onto the studio, I quickly looked at the data, and for example, I averaged 250 watts for 6 hours 25 with the neutral.
That's a long
so
day.
Exactly.
You know, as you were saying, if that was a training ride, you'd be in your knees right now.
Exactly. So I mean, you know, in the bunch, it was definitely one of the easier days of the tour. But an easy day in the tour is still a hard day.
Yeah, of course.
The only thing is, I have to say, what was quite enjoyable is finally, after a week on the bike, I finally was able to talk with some mates and catch up.
What was the chat?
It wasn't a very sociable tour so far. So you guys, so I had a bit of a catch up about, you know, just training, where we were before the tour, what race did we do, and, you know, what altitude camps we did and what's coming. You know, it's kind of funny. You're a week into the tour and you're already chatting about what's coming after the tour.
Yeah.
I think it's a way of keeping the focus away and kind of disconnecting a little bit from the tour, and, you know, the usual talking about what's happening at home.
Yeah, so he's watching Love Island. The usual.
Exactly. What chapter are you on?
Nico, we've had a tweet in from Jamie McPherson now that you say about chat in the peloton, wanting to know what the chat is about Geraint Thomas. Is there any?
No.
He's flying, isn't he?
He's flying.
Yeah, he's flying, yeah.
But do you talk amongst each other about who's doing well and what the kind of form is? Or do you not really give it much away amongst the teams?
We obviously do, you know, and you always kind of comment about yesterday's climb, for example. You know, Anna Philippe, for me, I think was a revelation, and if Quick-Step Destiny would have known that in the morning, they probably would not have led 7 minutes up the road and make sure they defended their jersey, which I thought it was their plan. And I was talking with Anna Philippe the day before, and he says, Nico, I'm not letting go, I'm going to give everything. To be honest, I did not expect him to ride so well on that climb. I thought it was a little bit hard for him. We all know how good he is on those 4 or 5 punchy climbs. But, you know, it was an 8.5 kilometre climb with some of the top climbers in the world, so he did really, really well.
Did you think he messed up a little bit, though? Did you think he messed up the team, not him, but the team? Shouldn't they have pulled more, get the gap down a little bit more? Because there was only Kasper Askren riding the whole day. They never put another guy in the front. So you not think at any time, God, this gap's still quite big, or at least put another guy in? Because the GC teams were in that little GC battle behind where you got Ineos just watching the other rivals. They weren't bothered about getting a jersey. They were just bothered about the time around his rivals. I'm talking about G, really. But do you think they should have rode or not? Well, rode more.
You know, I mean, for them it was all about keeping the jersey, and they were going to ride today as well. So, you know, it's not about giving the jersey to make sure you're not going to ride today on the flat on this long 240k, because they were going to ride. I think they expected the GC teams to come and give them a hand, and they were playing a little bit of a bluff, and they didn't want to use all their cards yesterday because they also knew they were going to have to ride today. And they were kind of, all right, maybe if we keep it under 5-6 minutes, we'll have other teams coming in. But it didn't happen until very late.
Well, Nico, we've got an anxious-looking press officer waiting because they've been kind enough to allow us to borrow you for long enough. It has been the longest stage of this year's Tour de France, so thank you very much for your time. I'm sure we'll catch up with you
hopefully.
During the Tour de France. But we can hear now from Peter Sagan, his reaction on the stage today.
Peter, can you talk us through any complicated moments in those last couple of kilometers?
It was pretty fine.
And tell us maybe what happened in terms of the trains, and you had Marcus and Daniel as normal.
Yeah, thanks to all my teammates, they did a great job last 10 kilometers. They keep me in the front, and after we mix, I think a little bit like Daniel with Marcus with Jumbo-Visma train, and I just stay on Groenewegen wheel. And after the Connie came from the right, and I took Elias' wheel. And after, well, Elias started to sprint, I started sprinting, and the guys, the Caleb, Ivan, and Groenewegen just passed over, and I was third. I'm still happy for that. Like, this was really fast sprint, and these guys were much faster.
Can you tell me what are your characteristics that are different between you and Caleb and Viviani and Groenewegen?
Oh, well, I think everybody knows, like, I'm not that fast as them, but sometimes I can keep going better in a climb than, you know, everything for something.
That's why you're in green. Well done, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, by the magic of telly, Nico Roche has been replaced by Brian Smith. Brian, welcome along. How did you make that sprint? What did you make of it?
Well, first and foremost, I forgot to wear red. And
You
I think
did, I know. I thought we all got the WhatsApp.
Yeah. I make a very good body double of Nicolas Roche, I have to say.
You can say that. We're saying nothing.
Okay, absolutely brilliant sprints. Caleb Ewan, I was listening to Adam. If he'd have went, and it's all these big ifs and sprints, if he'd have went maybe that second before, because Groenewegen had to jump in everybody, and that saved him. Everybody was kind of dying a little bit towards the line in the end, but Caleb Ewan came close. He'll come close again and possibly win on another stage, but I think that's the monkey off the back of Dylan Groenewegen. There's big pressure on him. I didn't think they got it perfectly right. I didn't think anybody got it perfectly right. It was very chaotic, a lot of bumping and barging and pure Tour de France sprinting, but I think Dylan can relax a little bit. Other stages for him to try and win.
That monkey was going to get heavy on his back if he didn't get that stage win today. Brian, what about, we didn't get to ask Nico about Team Sunweb because he did have to go back to the bus. He was very kind to stay with us as long as he did. What do we make of their team efforts so far and how they will assess the situation 7 stages in? They were coming to this race with Tom Dumoulin as their main GC hope. Of course, he didn't recover from the injury of the Giro D'Italia on time. Michael Matthews going for stage wins that he hasn't been really contesting yet so far. What do you think they'll be making of their Tour de France?
I would say, honestly, mediocre. It's very difficult to adjust things, and I think Michael Matthews is very vocal about it. I've spoken to Nico since then. I saw him in the Tour de Suisse, and he's quietly confident that he's got opportunities. First and foremost, they have to help Michael Matthews, but there's a few riders within that team that are maybe thinking, well, there's a stage in it for me or potential GC in it for me, and we're going to try. So But when you go into that situation, the Tour de France, and they're known, will I do this, will I don't, it's very confusing. And over the last 7 days now, I don't think they really know. They know they have to look after Michael, and that's it. But as for everything else, they don't know where they're going yet.
Well, Adam, we've had to say goodbye to Nico already, and we're going to be saying goodbye to you shortly as well. We're going to shed a tear, aren't we, Brian? Oh,
sorry.
Come on. I was playing the emotional card here.
I've had to share a car with him.
Have you enjoyed your time with us at the Tour de France, Adam?
Well, apart from him, yeah, it's been great. I wanted to do my last show with all of it. You've arrived.
He can't stay away.
It has been fantastic, and I've loved it. And I think it's nice looking at it from this point of view and voicing my opinion on it as well. It's not always right, but it's a good opinion, I think. So obviously, I think that.
A younger opinion.
But yeah, it's good, and I think it's great to see it from this side of the fence. It's always special to see it rather than being in it.
What's been your highlight? And you're not allowed to say the canteen at lunch. Or Brian.
I'd probably definitely say Brad on the motorbike, really. I think it's been a highlight so far. I think we've all missed him a little bit while he's been gone. Contador's not quite the same guy, is he? So, yeah, I'd say Brad on the bike.
What about yesterday after coming down the hill on the small bikes?
That is true, actually. We did ride down the hill on little bikes yesterday, but Brian had to sit on my wheel. I had to tell the old man on, bless him.
I'm sure he didn't mind. Well, it has been a pleasure having you, Adam Blind. And Sir Bradley Wiggins will be back with us. He's back from the last Saturday of the race all the way through that final week. For now, though, from the longest stage of this year's Tour de France, there isn't much respite, I'm afraid. It's another medium mountain stage to come on stage 8. Only slightly shorter, just the 200 kilometres, but punctuated with the kind of medium mountains the tour organisers are so fond of this year. 7 categorised climbs in all, each of them capped 2 or 3, with the final climb coming just 10 kilometres from the finish in Saint-Etienne. Today with a breakaway written all over it, we'd say. Well, if you missed any of today's stage and fancy a summarised version, we have highlights of Stage 7 on Eurosport 1 tonight at 8. And we'll be back once again on Eurosport 1 at 11:15 tomorrow morning. And if you haven't had a listen yet, then do download the Bradley Wiggins podcast. Subscribe while you're at it so you don't miss any of his thoughts on the Tour de France. Well, it was a long old day at the Tour, but worth the wait for Dylan Groenewegen. His 4th win at the Tour de France in the 3rd sprint stage this year. That's the longest stage over. It'll get shorter from here on in. Only 200 kilometres to come tomorrow. It's easy, this bike racing, isn't it?